There's a lot of talk about Airbnbs nowadays. Some people love it, some people hate it. So we're gonna dive into today doing some reaction videos to what's out there. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right.
Here's how we take a bunk bed concept in our short-term rentals and elevate it. So rather than have
like
two side-by-side, twin over twin bunk beds,
she's legit.
we wanted
Avery
to
Carl, I
create
do like her.
a better experience for a potential small family to stay in here. So we had these built custom for less than it would cost to get a decent 2 sets of bunk beds to put in here. We've got a king size bed here, and you can sleep another 2 people on the top bunk because it's an L shape. We even added lights and electrical outlets with their own switches up there, so people don't have to get up and down to turn the lights on and off, and they can charge their devices right while they're up there sleeping. So this just photographs a lot better than 2 side-by-side bunk beds that looks kind of like an army barracks or something that really doesn't look comfortable or luxurious to sleep in. So we've taken that concept and elevated it to make it much more attractive for potential renters that want to come stay at our property. This idea didn't really cost much more than traditional side-by-side bunk beds, and if this is something that you might be interested in doing in your own future property, save this video.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's spot on there. I think, you know, to her point, the key phrase there was, do you want it to look like army barracks or do you want it to look attractive? And I would say most bunk beds make it look like it's a jail cell or an army barracks. Whereas what she built there, is it a lot of work? Does it seem very extra? Yes, it does, but Airbnbs are all about extra. And I think when it comes to photographing the place, what she has right there is gonna look so much better than somebody with just 2 bunk beds in a room. And I don't know, I think stuff like that is just super important when it comes to short-term rentals. I think it's kind of like exponential, right? It seems like a minor change for a lot of work maybe, or a lot of expense, but I think that's just what you have to do nowadays. I think you do have to go above and beyond, and I think guests appreciate that. That's the difference when it comes to, you know, a guest deciding on you versus the neighbor.
I started my first short-term rental in 2016, and dude, I went to
a
Hobby
big
Lobby and
midterm
bought
rental
all
guy.
farmhouse stuff for like Joanna Gaines was super popular, right? Back then, and my property's killed. If I had that same decor up right now, like my property wouldn't book. Before, back in the day, you used to have 4 walls, a TV, and a window, and your place would kill, and that's not the case anymore. Like, it's just not.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This isn't going to affect you.
Nice.
It's going to affect the people that have got average properties, who are average hosts, who are offering average experiences and are forgettable.
Funny, man, there's like a group of celebrity like short-term rental or like vacation rental or just rental people in general out there, you know, just from like Bigger Pockets and all these different companies and influencers that popped up. But I kind of agree with a lot of what they're saying there. Nothing in that I would critique. You know, it's just a more competitive landscape, right? When something blows up like Airbnb has over the past year, things just get more competitive. There's nothing really surprising about it. Next video.
Where's the best bang for your buck in your opinion?
Right now, I like mid to large size vacation markets that are driving distance to 1 or more major metro areas that are growing in population. The reason I say driving distance from growing populations is because let's say Nashville's growing, Atlanta, Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, all these places are growing. What are those new people doing when they get to a new, fun, exciting city? They're exploring the city, but what are they doing with their spouse or their kids? Hey guys, where are we gonna go? Let's just hop in the car and explore. We're near the beach now, we're near the mountains. So they're gonna start hitting up those places. So there's already established tourism, but because there's growing population, now there's a bigger demand pool for those areas. So that's like what I would do starting out as far as like location selection and understanding some of longer term or bigger picture. Like a lot of people make the mistake of, what's the perfect market, Michael? What is the perfect market that I should invest in? What is the #1 market in the country? I'm like, that's the wrong question because there is no answer. If there was, everyone would be investing there and hitting home runs every investment.
That's a good video. I mean, I don't invest outside of the market, so I don't have a whole lot to add in terms of looking at other markets. You know, our specialty is the Myrtle Beach area. But I like what he said there at the end. You know, what's the perfect market? What's going to work out great? There's not really like an easy, perfect market out there, I don't think. I mean, maybe like 1 or 2, but again, what happens is they get popular and it gets more competitive. So I would focus a lot more energy on finding like, you know, find a decent market or find a market that a lot of people agree on that is good, and then just focus on making your rental the best one in the market.
Airbnb versus long-term rental.
Go
Which one's better?
Sanchez.
I'm saying Airbnb bust. 1, Airbnb's lead time,
She's a
the
hater.
amount of time between somebody booking and somebody coming to
She's a
stay,
hater. I know
used to
she's a
be
hater.
12 days, now it's 30 days. Lots more uncertainty. Second reason is, looks like we're going into a recession or we're already in it. That means vacations are not going to be the big driver like they were right after COVID. The reason I like long-term rentals, 1, we have a housing crisis in the US right now. 6.5 million homes we are short by. Rentals solve this. rents. Second reason, it is cheaper now in the US, in 81% of the country, to rent than it is to buy. And the third reason is my long-term renters, they don't call me in the middle of the night when something happens in their home.
First off, I would not agree with that last statement. The long-term rental tenants also will call you if they're in the middle of the night, just like guests do. But I mean, yeah, I love long-term rentals. I'm with her on that. I do like long-term rentals. I think they're great investment vehicles, but it's kind of like investing in the stock market. You're gonna have a good, consistent, safe investment return. It's gonna be really solid, but you're not gonna get the benefits of a vacation rental, right? You're not gonna get the benefit of using it when you want to. You're not gonna get the benefit of higher, cash flow returns that you're just not going to get with almost all long-term rentals nowadays. So yeah, there's downturns in everything. It just kind of comes with the business and you got to expect it. It's cyclical, right? I would say right now we're kind of in a little bit of a downturn, but I do think it's going to turn around as it always does.
Wholesome thing I've seen all day. As an Airbnb host myself, investing in the guest experience is the biggest ROI they can do to keep you in this game for as long as possible. It's not just about having a place to crash, it's about creating memorable experiences for your guests. Of course, not all of us can have an adorable dog on staff, but there is a playbook that we can follow from this host. When I'm scoping out new areas in the competition, I'm not just only looking at the price and the amenities. I'm also studying unique selling points that other people don't have. Maybe it's a cozy movie outdoor setup for starlit screenings, or a fully stocked game room when it's rainy outside. Heck, it can even be a coffee bar with local roasts. The point is, you have to start getting creative. The biggest things that you need today are killer design, amenities to help you stand out, and also have unique selling points that are going to be hard to replicate. If you want to learn all things short-term rentals and real estate, make sure you give me a follow.
Yeah, that's a good one. Unique selling points. That's one thing we just added we kind of created this flywheel of like, what does it take, to have a good rental, and what does it take to maintain a good rental over time? And there's a few things we realized you need in a good rental. There's 4 factors we had, and they all kind of feed into each other. One of them was a unique selling point or a unique selling proposition. And I think that's a big one, right? You gotta, at the end of the day, it comes down to 2 things. Is a guest gonna decide on you because you're the cheapest, or is a guest gonna decide on you because you have something unique that no one else has, right? I'd prefer the unique that no one else has, because if you're just doing the cheapest, it's, lowest takes it all. And that's not a game you really wanna play in. Uh-oh.
I had 6 Airbnbs and I closed all of them down. This is what I went through, okay? Number one of my guests literally burnt down my neighbor's fence. This happened in the middle of the night and I had to get up like at 3 a.m. to take care of this. Number 2, bloody scene. Look how they left my house. One of my guests stayed for just a week, and it was blood on the curtains, on the beds, inside the fridge, inside of like closets, and I don't even know what that yellow thing was. This is the amount of trash from just one guest. I had to pay for extra trash pickup because it just couldn't fit in the bins. Look at this beautiful Airbnb. I took so much time getting it together, and then a guest decides, oh, it's a good place to just smoke inside the entire house. Mind you, I have a really nice patio that they can smoke in, and then parties, they vomit everywhere. This is my couch where they vomited. It's like one of my favorite Airbnbs. One of the guests decided, okay, this is the best place for my dog to just poop, right? So they would poop on the carpet, and so I had to clean it up. Also, you have a maintenance team on hand, but a lot of times things have to be done immediately and they're just not available, so you have to go yourself and get things done. And guests also break things all the time. The best was this guest who broke into the supply closet.
Ooh, yeah, that obviously was a self-managing host. Sounds like she had 6 Airbnbs in whatever market she was in. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff she ran into is accurate. You do come across that stuff. It's not the majority of guests, and those seem like some pretty extreme situations, but you come across that stuff. It's just part of the game. That's why we really appreciate our cleaners. We probably don't give enough praise to our cleaners. They do a great job, handle a lot of issues. Sometimes when it's really messy and there's a lot of cleanup, they don't even complain to us about how messy it is. But yeah, it's a tough job. It's just what you got to do. That's why I recommend, and why we are a property management company. We're kind of your local boots on the ground. She mentioned another thing in there. You can find a maintenance guy, but usually if you just have a maintenance guy, a maintenance vendor that's a contractor, usually you can't get them out there quick enough, especially on turn days, unless the guy is just waiting on the sidelines for you to call him specifically, and he just really, just works for you. Probably not going to be able to get out to the property as quick as you need him. So that's where we come in. We can help with that stuff. I wish we could have helped her, but she looked like she was in a different market.
Can I ask, how many Airbnbs do you have? Currently, right now, I own 10, but they're all luxury. So last month, I think it was our biggest month that we ever had. We did $302,021 in revenue across those 10 properties. So it was a really, really good month.
Yeah, 300,000 is, that is a really good month. Those could be legitimate numbers. Our 7 bedrooms in the month of really June, July, maybe August will hit 30,000 in revenue. So it's definitely possible. I guess there's not really an opinion to react to there, but good for him.
Inaccurate Airbnb listing or description. So we're talking like Airbnb versus reality here. We're talking a fisheye lens to make a very small space seem massive, or creative photos to not show the bad stuff in the property but just show the good stuff. Now guests, why do you think this host is doing this? This is a business they're running. They want to earn from this property. They're trying to showcase the best stuff. But hosts that do this are like those insecure men who run around with Lambos and Rolexes to try and show that they're better than they are. Although I actually really would love a Lambo. Now, for hosts, yes, your property isn't perfect. Yes, it might be small. But remember, guests are actually going to come and stay here, so you can only trick them for so long. They're going to leave reviews, and everyone else is going to find out about your dirty little secret. If the place is small, that's fine. Call it a snug, call it a loft. A studio.
That guy just seemed like, I don't know, like kind of like burnt. I wouldn't even say he was like mad or like, you know, saying anything crazy. I think he was just maybe came across a place he stayed at and thought the listing was inaccurate. But yeah, I mean, you want to have accurate, I'll say it's very important to have accurate descriptions, because we've run into some times where we've used the word luxurious in our description, and that starts to create a expectation for guests that may not be the correct expectation for that place. So even though it's a good word to use and it'll help in your marketing and it'll excite people, if they come and the expectations aren't met and they don't leave you a 5-star review because their expectations aren't met, even if everything else is great, they love the place, it's just not luxurious and they don't think the value is there, then that is going to hurt you in the reviews. And if it hurts you in the reviews, it is not worth having in your description.
I think the hardest place to be as a short-term rental investor is whenever you're trying to get that second or third unit. I'm sure this has happened to a lot of people. You spend, you know, 20% down payment on a, let's say, a $500,000 house. That's $100K. You're going to spend 30 or 40K on furnishings, maybe 10K on closing costs and flights and all that stuff. You're in $150,000. You buy one property and you have to spend $150,000. You get into that property, it makes some money, and we're like, oh my gosh, I just got to do that again. But damn, I only have like $30,000. And I think that's the problem by all of the competitors who came in and saw them as the comp and then one-upped them with amenities and design and professional photography and all that stuff. And so I think the shift is that most people just never went back and polished their portfolio, and they kept scaling with the imperfect portfolio that they have now. So the way to win this game is just go look at your portfolio and ask yourself, how can you make it better?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really sort of good like framework or mindset to have if you're trying to grow or scale your rental portfolio. Again, I've said it in a few of the reaction videos already. It's a competitive landscape. When it's competitive, you've got to improve. That's part of the nice thing about competition and competition level increasing is that the product is going to improve. And if you don't improve that product, you're going to fall off. So I think his point there was that if you're looking to scale right now, it may make more sense if you're in the Airbnb game to look at what you have, make sure it's up to par, make sure it's going to deliver on the expected, you know, ROI and revenue goals that you have. Make sure it's competitive and valuable and unique for the market that you're in. Instead of just looking to add more rentals, it may make more sense to reinvest right now in the current market conditions, what you have.
What do you see the future of short-term rentals?
The fastest growth in the U.S. is behind us in terms of supply. If for no other reason, like these regulations aren't going away. There are places where the regulations are probably good, and there are more places where I think they're political gamesmanship. But from a regulatory perspective, it's going to get harder. There's going to be less of this. The supply growth will slow down. The second thing, because there's more competition, the returns on these aren't as good as they used to be. And so you've got fewer people chasing them, and I think that's a big part of the reason we see people coming into midterm rentals is that if you want to be in the real estate game, here's an opportunity to kind of have a little bit of the best of both worlds. And so if I were a betting person, like where is there money to be made in short-term rentals? You know, I think that still like the biggest adage probably still holds. A bigger format house with a scarce geographic asset, waterfront, riverfront, ski in, ski out, like it's going to be hard to really lose on those because there won't be more water in the US. There won't be more opening resorts in the US. Like you're going to have a scarce asset. So if you're not playing for cash flow, I think that part will still pretty much work.
Yeah, I think, you know, you seem to be kind of negative on it overall, but I think there's also some realistic, you know, inferences that he made there. So I think just about any business regulation increases over time. Don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Maybe I'm treading on a tightrope here, but I think, you know, regulation can be a good thing. Hear me out in the sense that, you know, in a market like ours, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, you can really do a rental anywhere and be kind of nice if we just limited it that to, properties that are within close driving distance to the ocean, because then we would get rid of some of the properties out there that are really cheap, that are really not making the revenue or, any of the stuff that the owners expect anyways. And then that way we'd get rid of some of the bad properties that are decreasing rates. We'd have less properties, which would, less properties, demand stays the same. That's going to increase price, right? So I think that would be kind of a nice thing, regulations in some ways. But yeah, overall, I think what he was saying is correct. If you can find a property that has something unique, like on the ocean, they're not building more ocean, right? So if you're on the ocean, that's a very limited supply. Over time, you're not going to lose on that.
Everybody, business owners, non-business owners, letting go is a really tough thing to do. You work so hard, you spend all these hours doing your best to build your business, but this thing, we're addicted to this thing. All those notifications that go off, we're addicted to it. There are people out there that are telling you, hey, you stop what you're doing right now, and you got to send them a video and saying, hey, thank you so much for booking our place. Here's 3 different restaurants. Dude, I'm not going to do that. When I'm sitting at dinner, I'm not going to do that either. At the end of the day, if you're not present with what you're currently doing at this time, be fully present. There's somebody on your team that can do that. And if they can do that 90-95% as good as you, that's still really, really, really good.
I love that. I think if you have a property management team, obviously they're taking that workload off of you. If you're self-managing, I think as you scale, you want to add some team members, almost build out an internal property management team. And yeah, delegation's huge, right? You're going to burn yourself out. Most people are going to burn themselves out if they just keep full control over everything, especially in vacation rentals. When you get beat up and bad messages and negative messages, bad reviews from guests, it hurts. It sucks, right? So if you're doing all the work and you're not getting any reward or any of your time back, that's going to burn you out and ultimately is going to lead to failure. So delegation is a huge thing. Trust your team. There's a lot of great automation tools out there now, especially when it comes to communication too. So I'm with them. Delegate, automate. You'll be better because of it.
Airbnb just stripped hosts of another critical protection, but this time they're coming after
Airbnb
you.
celebrity.
Now, if a guest claims a chargeback, you are on the hook to cover it. Airbnb claws it back straight from your next booking with zero notice. I dug into the update. The moment a refund is issued, Airbnb can deduct that amount from any future payouts. No deadline, no warning. What if you lose $2,000 or $3,000 from a fully booked weekend all because of one dispute? And the worst part, there's no limit on how long guests have to initiate the dispute. That's why smart hosts are diversifying. When you list on Vrbo, Booking.com, your own direct booking website, a single platform can't choke your cash flow. I personally use Guesty to make sure my listings are on as many travel websites as possible. Guesty syncs to over 70 OTAs and has one of the best direct booking websites I've ever seen. Building only on Airbnb is gambling. Diversify. If you want the full list of sites that Guesty integrates with, plus 20% off of your subscription, comment OTA and I'll send you the details.
Yeah, I made a video on that too. The chargeback stuff with Airbnb is kind of scary. I think we're still waiting for some more details on how that's going to work. I don't think it's as bad as I first thought it would be. At first, I thought, just as Tony was saying, if a guest disputes something, they're going to take your payout and you're never going to get it back. I've talked with some other people. They're not thinking it's going to be as harsh as that. So stay tuned. There's going to be more details. But to his point, you definitely want to diversify, right? You never want to be reliant on just one source, because when something like this happens and you're reliant on one source, it could flip your business upside down. That's why we're big on, getting out there on Vrbo, Booking.com. We're starting to grow our percentage of bookings on those to be a little bit stronger. And then direct website, I think it's a must. I think if you got one listing, if you got 200 listings, 2,000 listings, got to have a direct site. You got to have somewhere where once a guest stays with you, your mindset should be that they're your customer and they should be coming to you directly, right? That's how I think about it. So definitely get a direct website if you don't yet.
Did people get into Airbnb thinking it was a passive investment and were shocked with the reality that it actually takes work? Are people tired now? Is a property distressed?
50% of all real estate investments, whether vacation rental, long-term rental, or otherwise, are sold within the first 2 years because people, I call them obsessors. So like my dad, at nighttime, he's super into collecting like vintage antique shotguns that have like the pretty engraving, and he gets online at night and he obsesses over that and looks at all, watches all the YouTubes and does all the things. But people get into this for a number of industries. People get obsessed with investing in silver or investing in real estate. So they do this and then they'll buy a vacation rental or they'll buy an apartment building or whatever the thing is. And then within the first 2 years, they're like, damn, I don't like this. This involves people and people are horrible. I don't want to deal with people. This is not what I want to do. I'm going to sell this. So 50% of all of them are sold. What we saw in 2021 was there was a lot of FOMO buying too. So rates at 2%, people were like, man, I've always wanted a beach house and the rates are at 2%. I can kind of swing that payment if I don't rent it, but I'll just throw it on Airbnb because Airbnb was kind of, blowing up at the time too. So everybody bought one. People who had no business investing in real estate, people who have no business running a business, bought them, expecting them to just make money.
Yeah, I think a lot of what was said there is the harsh reality. I say it all the time. Airbnbs were kind of this sexy thing over the past couple of years. There were a lot of influencers out there pushing it. And she's right. There's a lot of things like this, right? You see something that looks awesome. You dive into it. You're spending your nights watching YouTube videos on it. You're doing your research. You finally decide to pull the trigger. It doesn't work out how you expect it. And then you're sad and, it just ruins you. I think that happened to a fair amount of people. And that's why you see a lot of these negative videos nowadays. But I think the reality is no matter what it is, if it's something where you think you can make a lot of money off of it, or it's something where you can actually make a lot of money off of it, it is hard. There's nothing out there that it's just easy to make a lot of money on. That just doesn't exist. The world is too connected and there's so many good sources out there like ChatGPT. If I could just plug into ChatGPT and say, hey, what's an easy thing for me to make $1 million a year on? Everyone would be doing that, right? So I don't think there's any surprises with it. It's gotten competitive because it's gotten a lot more people have engaged with it. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
What's up, guys? Is Airbnb dead in 2025? Is it even worth it to start an Airbnb business? Whether you're doing Airbnb rental arbitrage, whether you own properties, whether you want to co-host, does it make sense? The answer is no, Airbnb is not dead. However, Airbnb has absolutely changed this year over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It is completely different, and I'll explain that throughout this video. So what do people mean by Airbnb is dead? In my experience, in my opinion, the amateurs are saying that. Now, can you go and just throw any property, put any furniture, whether you have a house or apartment, whatever the case is, can you do that and still do well? No, you can't, because there's people in the market like myself, like tons of other investors and other Airbnb hosts that are really understanding where's the ball going, and they've enhanced everything. What's changed is you can't just throw up any sort of property and win. It's too competitive for that. But what you can do, if you understand exactly what matters and what's important, now you have to have done your research for what the best market is.
Well, we didn't get the rest of his tips there at the end, but yeah, I was a little worried with how he started that video. I thought he was going down one path and he kind of switched up. So he did a good job grabbing my attention. But yeah, it's kind of like a lot of what we've been saying. What we're seeing, experiencing, hearing is that the top 5 to 10% of properties are crushing it. I don't think that's going to go away. I think if you're in that top 5 to 10%, you're getting really good cash flow on a rental that you wouldn't be able to get from like long-term rentals or mid-term rentals or, anything else out there, self-storage or whatever it is. I think that is still true. I know that is still true. We see it with some of our properties, but it takes a lot to get up there. It's very hard, very difficult. I think the biggest difference that I feel is that you just have to, the amount of investment that you have to put back into these short-term rentals that are killing it is really high. It's kind of crazy, but the ROI makes sense or should make sense, right? So it's tough, but yeah, there's still people that are crushing it. That guy sounded really confident. So shoot, get out there, learn, do better, and grow. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you liked my reactions. If you want me to do more of these videos in the future, let me know. It was kind of fun. It felt a little, I felt like a lot of the themes there were the same. So maybe I'd find some different creators or different videos in the future, but really enjoyed it. Please put a comment down if there's any videos that you want me to make in the future, and I will catch you in the next one. Oh, real quick, MyBeach Vacation Rentals. If you're looking for a property manager in the Myrtle Beach or North Myrtle Beach market, what I tell people is we're a personal company. We don't manage hundreds and thousands of rentals. We've got about 80 rentals that we manage right now. We're really focused on getting and receiving high guest reviews, right? We've seen that's something that's super important. Only way you do that is through personal service, a lot of inspections, a lot of quality control, good maintenance, good cleaners, great communication. And I think we deliver that for homeowners and guests. So check us out. Our website's mybeachrentals.com. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.